Yes, 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 yes. Good morning, champions. It is Monday morning, January the 15th. We have a United States holiday today. It is Martin Luther King Day. So, shout out to everyone that is taking this as a holiday today and just understands the importance of this holiday. We will be going over a subject that I'm excited to announce was put into the polls as one of the top topics, and it worked so well last night. And Margaret is letting me know that she has not been notified about the live yet. So I am going to make sure that it is pinned to the top. So give me just a moment to do some administrative tasks off to the side here. And we will make sure that all is well. There's always a little bit of a lag when we are coming into getting us set up live. So I apologize. Oops, I don't want to edit the post. I want to pin it to the featured. All right. So hopefully all is well. If you are watching live right now, give me a sign. You can put hashtag live, or if you're catching this later on the replay, please do that as well. I appreciate you being here and listening this morning. As I was starting to say, we did the polls last week. Gosh, has it only been last week? No, it was the first week of the year. We did the polls on the different F's, and the one for finance had one of the most responses, and that was you wanted to know how to make more money. And guess what? I have some ideas for you. So excited because this is coming off of me being at a 5-day business mastery event. It was virtual. It was run by none other than master in the business community, Tony Robbins. And I just feel like my cup is full, you guys. So when I saw this topic as one of the ones I could talk about, I went, bingo, this is the one that is going to really resonate with everybody today. So let me check your comments. I see they're coming in. Margaret found it. All right. So happy that you're here this morning, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you. And she has put the dollar signs. Yes, yes, yes. And that was what we chanted all weekend whenever we were ready to strike the pose and feel powerful. We said yes. And so as I go through this presentation, if something really resonates with you, even though I can't see you, I want you to shout out yes, because that would be awesome for you to internalize this into your body, to get that attachment connection to the feelings that you're having about success, especially feelings you have about money, because so many of us do not only want to make more money right now, but need to make more money right now. And so I'm going to ask a question. It's kind of personal. It's going to maybe make you think a little bit. But when we talk about money, the question I want to ask is, how hungry are you? So we have a scale from 0 to 10. If you're like starving, your answer is a 0. If you are a 10, meaning you are, I got to think about this. I'm just about to tell you guys this wrong. So hold on. Don't put any answers yet. If you are not hungry, that's the 0. So if you're like fully satiated, you just ate, you don't need nothing, you're good, you are not hungry. But if you are a starving to death, you are a 10. Now, you might think I'm talking about money, and it's funny because my stomach is growling as I'm talking about this, so I have to laugh. Now, one of the things that happens on Business Mastery is there is like maybe you're supposed to take an hour break, which I barely do, and that's it. So you're online we got on at 8 in the morning yesterday, and I finished at about 10:30. So all day long, that one break, and I'm hungry. But that's not the hungry I'm talking about, right? The hungry I'm talking about is when we're talking about money, there's a process behind it. And I know you've heard people say that if you're not hungry enough for something, you won't go after it. So when we talk about the subject of how to make more money, if you are in a place where you're like, a lot of times it's our basic needs, right? So if you have housing, if you have food, if you have the basic necessities, then you're probably not that hungry. And even though you may want more money, the reality is you're not hungry enough to go whatever you're going to do to get more, right? And so this is a common question that you have to figure out from yourself is how hungry are you to make that money? Because nothing's going to work for you if you're just kind of like, it would be nice to make money, or I want to make money. If you need to make money, you're going to shift into a different gear. Okay? So, topic today is how to make more money, and we're going to cover a few things. Okay, I love it. And Margaret is being truthfully honest here that she has food in the fridge, but not much else. And I love that analogy. And we've got Sarah coming on as well. And I'm sure it is cold in North Dakota because it is 1 degree when I woke up this morning, and that is Fahrenheit for those of you from out of the United States. So we all recognize that there's a cold front moving over the country right now, and we're feeling it, right? But thank you, Sarah, for being here today. We are talking about how to make more money, and we're going to hit the first point, and that is spend less than you make. Okay. Now, there's a reason why I'm hitting this one. One is to honor my grandfather, because this was a mantra that he said. Now, he didn't say it this way. What he always said was, it doesn't matter how big your paycheck is. It matters how much you take home at the end of the month. And so I hate when there's like diet people and they're like, the easy way to lose weight is you eat less than, you eat less so that your body expends less. And so then you will lose weight. It's not as easy as that, right? But even in the financial, this spend less than you make is a key factor. Okay. And it's about honesty. You have to be truthful to yourself about what's going on. In the ULA world, we do what's called a green gap, and we look at what is your income and what are your expenses. And the difference between those two is what we can do something with. And if it's a negative number, what we have to do is dig you out of the hole. If it's a positive number, then you can do some things with it. But the first thing you can do to make more money is to recognize that there has to be something plugging the leak, right? If it's chaos and you don't know, like I think I've told you guys about my aunt. My Aunt Betty was the sweetest lady, but she didn't go to bed at night without having counted exactly how much money she had. She knew what was in her bank accounts way before you could automate your bank accounts. Like she must have called every day. I don't know what she did. She counted the change in her pocket, and she knew she had a tally that said, this is how much money I have. Now, she had a lot of money, but she had a lot of money because she was a steward of what she had. And so when we talk about how to make more money, it's not about gathering it all up and then like you can't even hold it all, right? So then it's just blowing in the wind. You will have the same attitude about money. You will have the same responsibility level about money when you have a lot of it as when you have a little of it. And so taking the measures now to make that work for you will be so much better. So I'm going to read your comments, and please recognize I'm talking to myself as well, you guys, because especially with the business, it's really easy to get to that place where you don't want to see your mess. Okay. Where it's easier to just, I'll buy that thing because I need it. And I'll buy this thing because I need it. And then you never open it or do anything with it or address the information. So you're storing in a sense, but not using it. And you're still having that disconnect. So I'm looking at your guys' messages, and Sarah is saying that it's -14, probably -38 with wind chill. Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Just like Margaret said here, burr. I totally feel that. And there's some commenting here about the weight thing not being true. And it does feel like, so here's the thing about the weight. If you eat less, then the energy that you expend, you'll lose the calories, right? That's the scientific thing behind it. But there's more to it than that, right? And it's just like that with the spend less than you make. It's a mindset thing. And when we get our mind into the right um, perspective about money, especially, then we will be able to make it work better. We talk about money being an amplifier, right? So a lot of times people will say that money's not going to change who you are. Money changes, it amplifies what you're able to do. The opposite of that is true as well. Not having money amplifies what you're not able to do. So your mindset becomes almost warped when you get in that poverty mindset or you're lacking. And when you have that mindset, it seems like everything blows out of proportion. But we all know that the flip side of that, that having that money, being open to the abundance, letting it come to you. You remember how when we started the new year, we did the receiving process and we opened up to having things come to us? Well, money is one of those things that we can open up to. So I'm really hoping that we can explore. Now, this is my 15 to 20 minute live that I do once a week. And there is going to be additional content that we can go on this. But I wanted to get started with these concepts. And got to be honest, you got to look at the root of what's happening. But the other way that we can make more money is to gain more skills. So one of the reasons that I went to the Tony Robbins event is to up-level my skills for business. That makes sense, right? The more skilled you are, the more you should be making. And so if we look at, the McDonald's of the world, so it might be a different fast food restaurant, but a lot of people started their career working at a fast food restaurant and making minimum wage. The reason why it's minimum wage is you don't have to be very skilled to work in a fast food restaurant. But if you want to be a manager or if you want to go into another type of work, you have to have some skills. And every time you up level, that's an opportunity to go to a higher rate. So what you need to think about is, what are your current skills? Are you giving enough value to those skills? And do you need to add some more to your skill level to be able to push you into a different bracket? Like, we're talking about making more money. If you want, and if you're serious about it, if you're hungry for more money, then you've got to do everything that you can to be able to achieve that. Now, in the skills area, one of the skills that you need to be focused on, they could not say this enough times at our event, is artificial intelligence, AI. So we hear about it all the time. It's no longer a buzzword. It is the fastest growing industry. And it is an area where if you're not making money or not looking at it, you were not going to be able to make the money that is in this industry. And basically, you can take your skills out there and use AI to up-level them. I am the first to tell you that I was a resistor to the AI. It just feels wrong on multiple levels. But just because it doesn't quite fit with my heart posture right now, I recognize that it's also not going to fit to just sit in a corner and feel like that's for other people when it's happening. It'd be kind of like if I was a caveman and I saw people with wheels and I was like, that's never going to work. And I just was like, I'm going to sit and like just work really hard and force myself and like, ignore the cows or horses or whatever it is, right? And let people just totally industrialize on the other side of the street. And I'm just going to sit here in my own ways, in my own way of doing things, and not stretch or expand or do anything different. AI is going to influence everything we do. And so if we are not looking at that skill set, if we are not getting better at what we're doing, we're going to struggle. So I'm going to look, there's a lot of comments coming in. And Margaret is talking about how she's always trying to improve her crafts, up level that. So Margaret is doing jewelry. And so that's definitely an area where, as I was starting to say, as you up level those skills, what you want to do is be that person that is unique in what you offer, which jewelry is a perfect example, right? Like, you don't want to make something that's cookie cutter that a machine can be making, because people can buy that for less and aren't going to treat that as unique and amazing. But people that are able to do custom jewelry or custom homes, things like that, the more unique what you offer, the more you can charge for it, which will bring you more income, of course, which is the subject of what we're talking about. Okay. And yes, I love you guys are talking about the food aspect of being hungry. Yes. And what we were talking about is the metaphor of being hungry. And I know you guys are catching it, so it's not that that I'm saying you guys are wrong. I'm just saying that it's a great metaphor, isn't it? That we can look at how hungry we are to what we're willing to do. And that's why the gaining the skills is so important. Because if you're not that hungry, you can sit on the sidelines and be like, ugh, or be jealous, right? That guy's got a wheeled thing and I don't. So I'm just going to sit here and have a little pity party. No, the people who get ahead in life are the ones who are creative, who keep their eyes open and used to do things for that, like they look for the opportunities. And so we need to be that way. Perfect. Okay. Thank you guys for the comments. I'm appreciating seeing them in there. Okay, let me check my notes because I wanted to say about the skills to make sure that I am putting everything on here. Okay. So one of the big things that they say at the Tony Robbins world is that we want to add value. So you may be thinking, but the skills, this is a weird thing for me to be thinking about. The value of what you offer when you're serving other people is what is going to get you. The more value you can provide to more people, you will then notice that your income is increasing. So that terminology about adding value, if it doesn't make sense to you, then maybe what makes sense is that solving problems for people, always looking for the problem that you can be solving. That's a skill. It's what I do in coaching, right? It's one of the reasons why I haven't like niched into an exact special thing, because for me, it's bring me your problem. I used to be a math teacher. And so, lots of different things about math, right? There's fractions, there's decimals, there's dividing, there's algebra, there's geometry, right? There's a lot of different gamuts of math. But in my tutoring center, when people would come in, we would analyze what about math did they need to know? And what were they missing? What fundamental step did they lose out on, or were looking at the problem wrong? And then we could shift their knowledge, because usually it wasn't that they didn't know how to do something. There was a misstep in there. The story I like to talk about a lot is I had a student that he seemed so smart and he always watched what I was doing. He was attentive, and yet he would do horrible on the tests. And we had this odd day in school where we got to, the kids were doing something, and he needed to retake his test. And I said, you know what? I'm going to watch while you're doing the problems. I just want to see if maybe I can catch a problem you're having, like what's going on here. And so as he was doing it, he took out his calculator. Even back then it was allowed. And he was doing his work. And I realized that when you go to divide fractions, you can put the numerator on top and then the denominator. I know I'm talking math. You guys might be like coming off because you don't like this, but I'm sorry. Math is good. And so what he was doing was flipping those numbers. And so he was never getting the right answer. He was always doing the right steps, but that little tweak changed everything. As soon as he knew that step, he was able to ace the class. And that's the kind of thing that I look for. It's like, I love to help people in that area that they're just like mystified. What am I doing wrong? I'm doing all the things, but I'm not able to overcome this one thing. And then once we have it, the shift happens so quickly. I love that. All right. And Sarah's saying, yes, she needs more skills. All right. And I see Jennifer's on. So happy to have you. I've been meaning to get in touch with you. This new year has been crazy. But I'm happy to see that you're on. And I will be getting in touch with you because I've got some ideas. And Margaret is putting here, shut up with the math. I love it. I love it. Yes. And Margaret has been teaching her daughter. So up to this year, she was homeschooling. So I know she's got some experience with the math for sure. So, it's a love-hate relationship. And it's interesting because the business that I started, so I'm going to tell you guys a story, and I'm going to try to keep us within the time zone here. There was a time in my life when I had been working online and doing a .commerce store. So it was very, very much like today, but before it was a thing, before it was a skill that people recognized. It was about when the .coms were coming in, and I had my babies and I was just enjoying life, but in a different way. And I had a fight with my husband at the time. And it was one of those fights that's like, stands out in your mind, unfortunately, but he drew a line in the sand and he was like, we're either going to go forward from this point or we're not. And I remember thinking, holy crap, what am I going to do? I don't have marketable skills in the marketplace. Like, if I leave this relationship, I won't be able to have money. And I was so mad at myself that even though I knew, like, I had had a career and all that stuff, but in that moment as a mom, I had put myself into my family more than I had into my family more than I had into my skills. And I wasn't going to be able to like make the kind of money we needed. And I remember just being like, no, that is not going to be it. And within a very short amount of time, I started this tutoring center. And it was just like a gift from God to have the center. It was making more money. And it was this moment where I was like, what are my skills? What do I have to offer the world? And I remember thinking, if I had a nickel for every time someone told me that they weren't good at math, I would be rich. And I was sitting there and I went, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tutor in math. And it opened up for me. I never had a business that was so successful. And it was so good because it fed my soul. I got to help people one-on-one, like I was telling you about the problems. And I got to see these young kids, and I even had college students. I mean, I had engineers that would come to me. So I had the gamut of different math levels, but I got to get involved in their life and help them with something that was a mindset issue. It is not math, you guys. It's this feeling that they had that they weren't good at it. So your skills are super important. Okay. And I love you guys are putting in all kinds of really good comments. So thank you for that. Good stuff. And Jen is saying that she's been thinking about doing cursive writing tutoring. That is fantastic. You know, what's interesting is they did a lot of training on the AI. And I don't know if you guys watched or noticed in the event section. So like one of the things they taught us at Business Mastery was to take AI and just like make your content. And so I went out and I applied the skills, right? Whenever you learn something, you want to immediately take action on it. And so I just made a quick content thing where I told the computer, the AI, I said, hey, give me a post that celebrates financial success. It was not the best post. It wasn't what I would have done, but I also did it in about 30 seconds and put that information out there. And so you'll see it in the event if you wanted to look at it. Not the best post, but I bet you if I work on it over time, it's going to get so much better. What I wanted to say about that, though, is I was thinking about being an AI tutor, that's also a way. Like right now, everybody's hearing about it. There are a lot of people still that weren't into it, but maybe it's working with people on how can, like, here's the different AI tools. How could you use them? What would be useful? And that's going to take us to our third point. And I got to make sure I can get through all the points today. And that is knowing how much you need or want. Okay. So if you want to make more money, the first thing you need to do, we've talked about, is the spend less than you make. The second thing is to up level those skills. But the third thing is you got to have a measuring tool. And that's involved with how much do you need. And I put the /want there because we all want the $1 million, right? But you got to start somewhere. And so what you really need to do is do that budget that says, this is the bare minimum I need to survive. Compare that to your current income. Okay. Then start adding in, what is the life that you want? Like the next level life, not the life that you're dreaming of. It's just like when we do our goal sheets. What can you do this month? What can you do next month? What can you do? If you ask yourself that every month, by the end of the year, your position will change. But you've got to know where you are and you've got to know what's coming in. You've got to position yourself in such a way that you are in the game and winning it. And what I wanted to say on this one is you've got to get resourceful. So when you know your number, then you can take that next step. And one of the best tips that I've heard is you could make a post on Facebook, or if you have a group of friends or, a group of clients, whatever it is. But the post can be something like, what would you pay me $100 for that I could do for you today? Now, obviously, be careful who you send that out to. We don't want to go down the dark alley hole. But what you're basically finding out is in your circle, what is marketable? Which of your skills can you get paid for? Especially if you're super hungry, you're going to do this, right? If you're really needing the money, you're going to take that information from other people and be able to look at it and go, okay, I didn't realize that you would pay me $100 to do this, right? And then you can craft your next step. So I see some stuff coming in here. Okay. And I'm pretty sure let's see here. Switch over. All right. Margaret is saying that the things that you guys are doing so much, they're going here. So I'm going to look here. So Margaret says, the hardest part about making a budget is never knowing how much money will be coming in. Yes, it's not a budget of an income. It's what do you need? Okay. And it is important. Like, it doesn't matter in your business if you're making $10 million or you're not making anything at all. And sometimes people who have businesses making $10 million aren't making anything at all. They're struggling as well. So, but you have to know how much you have to have. And then your brain will pick up on the clues. Like right now, it might be a little bit confused. It's like, so we don't have food in the cupboard, but we're going to go buy some new clothes. And so the brain's like, we must have enough because look what we have. So what you want to do is start teaching your brain, no, this is what I need. And then the brain, your mindset, however we want to look at it, will start looking at it differently and be like, oh, I see. I need to put some controls in place here. I need to help in this area. So we talked about reticular activating system, right? The car that you buy or like or whatever, you start seeing everywhere. The things that you're telling your mind, it's like we're programming it. When we program it, this is what I need, this is what I want, asking our brain, what am I going to do to get what I want? Then the brain starts feeding you answers. The brain's like, oh, yeah, we got this. Okay. And the thing is it takes time, you guys. So when I did finally reach the point, it was probably, let's see, I do the math here. It was 10 years from the time I had that moment with my spouse to when everything finally got to a place where we got divorced. But I had running in the back of my mind that I was never going to have that experience again where I didn't have the skill sets that I needed to go out into the world and make it work on my own. And that shift, even though it took 10 years, was what got me to where I was able to change my life completely, basically. And I stepped out in total faith. I didn't have money after the divorce. I didn't, there was 6 or 7 months before everything settled that I was like, I don't know how this is working, but it did. I found a way. I pushed. So if you would like more content like this, we are a little bit over on the next event starts in 2 minutes ago. So I need to get going because it's the newcomers event and I want the new people to have access to us and be asking their questions and so on. So I'm going to switch over there. If you want more topics like this, please put more money in there and please put your takeaways in. I love the comments that you guys are giving, but what stood out to you? What change are you going to make because you're thinking this way now than the way you've always been thinking? If that's something that you can put into words, please share it or send it to me in a DM and let me know your thinking. I would love to do a more in-depth discussion on this, and we can do that because we have that kind of community. So I hope you guys have a really blessed week. I hope that you will just put yourself into great situations and say yes. Okay? Have a great day.